When I first started this channel, I said it was going to be an exercise and going to watch teams I'd never seen before play in places I'd never visited. And 2 videos in, we're already breaking that rule, because tonight I am going to see St Cadoc versus Largs Thistle in the West of Scotland Premier Division at New Tinto Park in Govan. Early in the season, I went to see St Cadoc take on Pollock at Newlandsfield Park. That match finished 1-0 to St Cadoc, an absolutely terrific game of football, one of the best I've been to this season, that featured one of the best individual performances I've seen this campaign through their goalkeeper Max Curry, a name who might be familiar to people who have watched the SPFL. He had spells at Airdrieonians, Stranraer and Queen of the South. And because this is St Cadoc's final home match of the season, I thought this was one that was worth checking out. St Cadoc are ostensibly a youth club that was formed about 40 years ago with the aim of providing football and netball facilities for boys and girls in Newton Mearns, the south side of Glasgow and beyond. And since then, it's grown to be one of the biggest youth clubs in the country. And in 2020, they decided to launch a men's senior team to compete in the brand new West of Scotland Football League. And in the 5 years they've been there, they've been pretty successful. They've been competing to a high standard in the West of Scotland Premier Division. They're one of the teams that's challenging towards the top of the table. And earlier in the campaign, they won the Strathclyde Demolition Cup. Tonight they're taking on Largs Thistle. It's a bit of an end of season dead rubber encounter. Largs Thistle have got a big game against Johnson Borough coming up in the semi-final second leg of the Junior Scottish Cup. So they might be resting players, they might have their eyes on something else. But nevertheless, this is a game I'm looking forward to. And one of the things I want to explore tonight is more about St Cadoc. I want to find out what they represent, what their aspirations are, and how you go from being just a youth club to being a football team in your own right. Let's find out more. Tonight's match is taking place at New Tinto Park, the home of Benburb, where Cads have been sharing for the past couple of seasons. And it's a ground that I've already visited and a ground that I've got a wee bit of a soft spot for. I attended a friendly match here between Benburb and Stenhousemuir in the summer of 2021, and what made that match so significant is it was the first game supporters could attend after coronavirus restrictions had been lifted. Stenhousemuir won that match 2-1. Now, while New Tinto Park might lack the character of Cadoc Park, the home of Glasgow Pershore that we visited last week, this is still a really handsome place to play football. There are a couple of names in the St Cadoc lineup that might be familiar to people who have watched SPFL football in the past, not just Max Curry. The captain, BJ Cole, he had spells at Queen's Park, Forfar Athletic and Stenhousemuir, and I think he is the record appearance holder in the Lowland League. Certainly had a long spell at EK. There's also Anton Brady in the middle of Park, a real terrier-like midfielder. I remember him from Queen's Park and Stranraer, and unfortunately he's not here tonight, but Bob McHugh is the star striker. You might remember him from his time at Motherwell, from Greenock Morton, from Queen's Park, and perhaps most famously of all, his goal for Falkirk against Hibernian in the Premiership playoff semi-final. Absolutely phenomenal goal. Just a shame that he's not here tonight. For Largs Thistle, meanwhile, I'll be honest and say I'm not familiar with too many of their players, but they do have Will Sewell in their ranks. He spent about 6 months at Stenhousemuir a couple of years ago. Very prolific striker at this level. Didn't quite translate into the SPFL, but nevertheless he's a player I'm looking forward to checking out tonight. Well, we're waiting for this match to kick off. I'm trying to find a St Cadoc fan to talk to about what it's like to follow the club, but I've yet to actually come across one. I've approached about 10 different people. They're all Largs Thistle fans or neutrals. Haven't found one yet. The search continues. And it's another absolutely beautiful night here. I'm telling you, at this time of year, if you have got the opportunity to go out and watch a team close to you, please go and do it, because you will not be disappointed. There's no better feeling than getting to stand in the sun and just watch some football for the sake of watching football. We're about half an hour into the game and it's still 0-0 and not a lot of note has happened. It's actually gone as I imagined it to be. Two well-matched sides who have played each other a couple of times already this season, feeling one another out. It's a bit more like the calibre you would see in League 2 in the SPFL, where it's a wee bit more measured, a wee bit more precise, but nevertheless it's an absorbing encounter. That's the adjective we'll use here. A new friend here, hello. Hello Molly, nice to see you. And that's class. There's a couple of young boys just having a wee kick about just behind the goals. Fantastic. it's a wee bit chilly as well. The sun has disappeared behind the clouds and I'm regretting not wearing a sensible jacket. So there we go, it is half-time, it is St Cadoc's 0, Largs Thistle 0. Hasn't been a classic, goalmouth action's been quite thin on the ground. Both teams very well matched. Both teams might have their eyes on other things, particularly Largs Thistle, but nevertheless, aye, it's been a game of football I can say I've been to. If we're going to compare this game to the match between Glasgow Persia and Dairy Thistle from last week, then, well, that game was a lot more chaotic, a lot more unpredictable, a lot more players just trying to do things off the cuff. This has certainly been a lot more tactical, a lot more strategic, a lot more measured, and I suppose in a way it hasn't been as fun, hasn't been as entertaining, but like I said earlier, this is very similar to the kind of fare that you would get in the SPFL, particularly League 1 and League 2. So hopefully it picks up in the second half, hopefully we've got something to cheer, otherwise this video is just going to be me wandering around filming dogs. And to be fair, I love dogs, so that's not really a complaint. How long have you been supporting St Cads for?
Since the start, since 4 or 5 years ago.
And what are they like as a team to follow?
They're just a junior football team really, it's just junior football. It's better than going to watch Celtic and Rangers anyway.
So how did you start following them? Given they're in a new club, they're only about 5 years old.
My daughter played with St Cadoc's through, the whole community's been based on the school at the start. She played with St Cadoc's and obviously taking her through St Cadoc's right through, she chucked it, but she stopped playing when she was about 13. And then obviously this kind of set up happened and my wee nephew plays with the unders, right, and my brother's a coach with St Cadoc's.
So it got a real family feel to it then, the club?
Aye, basically, aye. They're based in Newton Mearns, and I'm in Newton Mearns.
How do a team like St Cadoc's go about building a bigger fan base? How do they get more people to come along to the games?
Well, I think it's in the pipeline that we're trying to get somewhere in Newton Mearns. Last Friday, the under 20s development squad were playing in Newton Mearns, and the place was just full of parents and children and got their wee ultras and all that kind of stuff. But to ask them to come down here on a Saturday or a Monday night to support us, it's not for them. It's just, but if we were based in Newton Mearns, 10 times different.
We're about 15 minutes away from full time. It's still 0-0. It hasn't been a classic. Chances have been at a premium, and both sides seem content to play out a 0-0. Fair play to Cads, they've brought a number of under-20s off the bench and stuck them on here, and I suppose that's exactly what you want from a community club there, where young guys can come all the way through the youth ranks into the first team, and that's what we're seeing here tonight. Hopefully one of them can give us a goal. Fingers crossed. Well, this game's been pretty average and not a lot's happened. I really have to give credit to the Cads attacker Neil McLaughlin. He's shown a tigerish spirit, a sort of menace and a will to win that a few other players have shown there. Having seen him at that Pollock game that I mentioned right at the start of the video, I was really impressed with him then, and I'm impressed with him now. Unbelievable, it is 1-0 to Cads. 1-0 to Cads. And once again, I missed it. It was a shot from distance, hit the underside of the bar before going in. However, I was looking right at it. I'm not 100% sure it crossed the line. You can see where I'm standing. I think it had a pretty good indication of whether or not it went in. I don't think it did, and certainly the Largs players don't think so either. 1-0 to the Cads. I am absolutely furious with myself. Probably the only interesting thing that's happened in the entire game, and I missed it. There we go, and that is the full-time whistle. It is St Cadoc's 1, Largs Thistle 0. Not the best game of football I've ever been to, and if something was going to separate these two teams, it was going to be something spectacular. And so it was, albeit I'm not 100% sure whether or not that shot crossed the line. I'm now back in the house. I've had a chance to reflect on tonight's game, and I want to make two apologies. The first apology is to you, the viewer, for missing the only interesting thing that happened in the game. I was standing about 10 yards away from it, so it's an absolute scandal that I didn't capture it. And the second apology is to the Largs Thistle goalkeeper. About 5 or 6 minutes before that shot went in, he asked me how long was left in the game. Told him, and I said to him, it's not been a classic, but at least you've got your clean sheet. And he said, haha, don't jinx me, big man. So I have to take responsibility for the Cads goal there. I want to thank Barry, the chairman at St Cadoc's, for his hospitality and his generosity over the course of the evening. I didn't need to pay to get in. I was given a cup of coffee at half time, and it's a shame that he didn't want to speak in front of camera because he's such an interesting guy, and it was really fascinating listening to him talk about building St Cadoc's as a football team and the difficulties in trying to harness a fan base, especially when you're playing 3 miles down the road from where you're based. I think what we saw with the under-20s winning the cup the other week, there is an appetite for football in Newton Mearns, and there really is a place for teams like St Cadoc's. If I was to draw a comparison between St Cadoc's and a team already in the SPFL, it would be the Spartans, who are a community club with a really good football team attached to it, and I hope that in time they can develop their home at Newton Mearns and encourage more people to go along and watch them. I want to thank everyone for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please like it and leave a comment below and let me know what I can do better going forward. I'm still very new to YouTube, and anything I can do to try and improve is all worthwhile. It only remains for me to say one last thing. Please like and subscribe and enjoy your football, but please do so respectfully.